Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Daryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, President Mahama predicts an era of energy self-sufficiency as TEN and Sankofa oil fields come on stream to produce more gas for energy generation. Also coming up, management of bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST advanced moves to recover debts owed by bulk oil distribution companies. Also ahead, stakeholders of the building and construction industry share expectations of the incoming government ahead of the inauguration on the 7th of January of the president. Thanks for making a date. I'll have the details in a moment. Hello again and welcome to the program. In our first story, President John Mahama has urged the incoming administration to continue with Ghana's extended credit facility arrangement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, until the end of this year. Addressing Parliament in his last State of the Nation address, the President said continuity in the implementation of the deal will ensure debt sustainability and macroeconomic stability in the Ghanaian economy. According to the President, his government could not have achieved its growth target for 2016 due to the shortfalls in revenue collections. A total of $918 million is being disbursed to Ghana under the 3-year program with the Bretton Woods institution.
We inherited an economy that was running a high deficit with increasing inflation and interest rates. It was also characterized by a rapidly depreciating currency. This unstable macroeconomic environment created an unfavorable investment environment both for indigenous and foreign capital. Our forum at Senchi was an attempt to forge a consensus for a homegrown fiscal consolidation program. Mr. Speaker, the Senchi outcome eventually became the basis for the IMF extended credit facility that we are implementing. The ECF program, as it's called, has resulted in an improved macro environment, which has seen a steady decline in inflation and interest rates. A new public debt management strategy is also seeing a steady decline in the public sector debt, estimated to have dropped from nearly 75% to below 65% currently. Our currency, the cedi, has also this year enjoyed relative stability, depreciating at just above 4% this year. Mr. Speaker, while the deficit target for this year might be missed on account of inability to meet revenue targets, it is important for us to continue to pursue fiscal consolidation in the 3rd and final year of the IMF program.
Meanwhile, President Mahama says Ghana is entering into an era of energy self-sufficiency. He noted Ghana has now the highest access to electricity in West Africa, and that with the expectation of more domestic gas from the TEN and Sankofa fields, Ghana could soon become self-sufficient in energy generation. The President reiterated his government has added about 800 megawatts more to the national grid and urged the incoming government to endeavor not to create a shortfall again.
It has taken a lot of hard work and effort. Fast-tracking the deployment of emergency plans and speeding up the completion of ongoing plans ensured that we added more than 800 megawatts of power over an 18-month period. This increased generation, in addition to the energy sector levy and ongoing works to restructure the legacy debt of the power utilities, has helped to stabilize the power situation in our country. With the expectation of more domestic gas from the TEN and Sankofa fields, Ghana is entering into an era of energy self-sufficiency. Indeed, the warning signals have started sounding about the danger of overcapacity and excess redundancy in our power generation sector. We have agreed to work with the World Bank to rationalize the addition of new plants and ensure that we achieve optimum utilization of existing plant capacity.
Well, we'll still stay with the state of the economy. We have done well in managing the economy over the past 8 years. That's not me, that's a view of the President, John Mahama, as he presented his last State of the Nation address to Parliament. The President cites the current deficit, inflation, and cedi depreciation as being far better than when his administration took over in 2008. Speaking to Joy Business after the presentation, Finance Minister Seth Terkper said there is no doubt about how the economy has been managed by President John Mahama.
And it showed a situation where the economy went through significant challenges. To mention 2 or 3 of them, the global economy, which he highlighted on, which affected us by way of commodity crisis, gold, cocoa, and at the point, crude oil prices were all falling. The prices for all these commodities were falling. We inherited single spine, we inherited subsidies, we inherited a power crisis that was caused by the 2.5 years of disruption in power supply. The President indicated that he came to the House and promised that many of these things will be fixed. As we speak, what the President sought to tell Ghanaians is that we are in a turnaround. The economy is not what it was. But more importantly, in terms of prospects, Ghana going into the oil and gas is also seeing a very strong services sector. Agriculture is rebounding, and therefore he emphasized that he is handing over, using the baton as an example, he's handing over an economy that is stronger, and many of the problems that he faced having been resolved, particularly power, which you were talking to my deputy a short while ago. But let us remember in the context of power that we have a 3rd FPSO coming, that's the Sankofa FPSO. And so from the emergency power, we are moving to a sustainable power environment where Ghana is going to see 3 FPSOs.
Now, Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor shared some thoughts after the presentation by the President.
If you have a peak demand of about 2,000 and you have an installed capacity of about 3,845, certainly even your dependable capacity will tell you that we are doing very well. Not just the installed capacity. I'm talking of dependable capacity. I'm talking of available capacity. That is power that is really available to be injected into the system. As I talk to you, we are resting some of our machines. Before last year, we just couldn't do anything. When you had a challenge, you couldn't do anything. But today we have backups and we are bringing on more power. And so for me, when we talk of the energy sector, it's largely fixed. And that is in no doubt. I agree that there are challenges and there will continue to be challenges as we move on as a nation. There is no point in time that this nation would be faced with no challenges. But the truth is that, and this is a fact, this is verifiable, this is empirical, and this is factual, that we have fixed the energy challenge. And if we continue to consolidate the gains we have made, it is obvious that we would not return to doom so.
You are very convinced that we will not return to doom so, but there are those who fear that after the new administration, takes over, doom so would return. How do you respond to those concerns?
Unfortunately, we have the substantive Minister of Power here in the person of Honorable Seth Terkper, so he might want to continue. But why would doom so return? If doom so is not returned for the past 1 year, you should be able to sustain it for another 1 year. It's a matter of putting in place the right mechanisms, consolidating the gains that we have made.
So let's do a little assessment of how the government fared with regards managing the economy. Did he get the pass mark? The president get the pass mark or not? Meanwhile, some economists say the president cannot be given the pass mark on how he managed the economy under his tenure. Economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, Professor Felix Asante, says President Mahama could have done better.
I think we are going to see quite some items and some finances which were not on our budget. And that is something that we need to deal with. And that is what is going to result in this budget deficits and high deficits that we expect.
I know you've seen a lot of successive governments when it comes to the economy and they're going and coming, but it's always been a problem. A new administration comes in and there's a whole debate about what you left and what I'm taking over, and even there have been instances about the coffers being empty and all those things. Do you think that the president should use this presentation to address that problem once and for all?
I think to change from what has been done every 4 years, I think the government should tell us the real issue. I think we need to avoid a case where the new government comes in the first quarter, start revealing a lot of things that this were not done, this were not. I think the outgoing president should be very, very candid with us and tell us.
So let's get the view of another economist, Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe. He's saying the president failed in the critical areas of the economy.
I think that compared to 2012, of course, things are a little better than 2012. And the performance, largely for me, has been mixed. The president seems to have done quite well with regard to fiscal consolidation, that is closing the gap compared to the 12% that recorded in 2012. I'm sure now it's still quite, I don't know the current state now, but as of last time was 6.9%. So that is significantly lower than what was recorded in 2012. So on that score, the president seemed to have done well. But in regard to growth, growth has been abysmal. I mean, the performance is way off. I mean, one of the poorest performance that we have seen over 2-3 decades now. And so he hasn't done so well. So there are other issues, you know. Inflation appears to be going down, but it's still very high. Interest rate today, though inflation is coming down about 15.5%, monetary policy rate is one of the highest in West Africa, about 25.5%. Lending rate is still about 85%, way higher than what was recorded even in 2012, all right? So the performance largely has been mixed, and I think that it is not something that we can say that the president is living a resilient economy. The economy is still under challenged, although it appears to be recovering, but we are not there yet.
All right, so we'll move away from the State of the Nation address. And 2016 was undoubtedly a challenging year for the economy. Many business leaders, however, appear to be positive about this year, 2017. Why so? Well, Joy Business has been ascertaining from some CEOs in the financial industry.
Economic difficulties in 2016 invariably played out across all industry, leading to job losses and even closure of some businesses. Business leaders Joy Business has been interacting with, however, say the outlook for 2017 is more promising. First is the Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered Bank, Kweku Beduado, who explains banking industry players are looking forward to lower lending rates regime.
From a banking perspective, we saw that towards the end of the year, thankfully, the rates started to come down, which is good for the economy, it's good for investment, it's good for affordability of credit. But there were other challenges. The indebtedness to the banks by SOEs and the energy sector, partially resolved. So mixed, but generally trending in the right direction. Could the pace be better? I think so. You know, institutional reforms or, you know, introducing things like the Ghana fixed income market, for example, in terms of creating a secondary market that allows investors to freely trade in fixed income products. That's very good for the market, and that's certainly progress. We would like to see rates trending downwards, contrary to what people think.
The Chief Executive of Enterprise Group, Kelly Gajekpo, also says the insurance industry largely surmounted the challenges of 2016 and the players are upbeat about 2017.
2016 continued to be difficult, coming through from 2015 and indeed even 2014. We all know the macroeconomic issues, but for the insurance industry, we survived in the sense that insurance is one of these things that you would think it's a luxury item until you are in a bit of a pickle. So more and more Ghanaians are beginning to recognize the value of insurance. And even though once upon a time it was not the first thing you paid out of your paycheck, we're beginning to see that people are appreciating it.
The confidence expressed so far by especially financial industry players could be a good omen not only for businesses but the economy at large in 2017.
Turning focus to the oil sector now, and management of bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST have advanced move to recover the debts bulk oil distribution companies BDCs owe it. The managing director Kwame Iwuada could disclose this at the company's end-of-year media review last night.
BOST last year engaged Ernst & Young to ascertain and validate cash claims by some BDCs due to foreign exchange losses recorded on some transactions by both parties. But speaking at the company's end-of-year media review last night, Managing Director Kwame Iwuada disclosed the report from Ernst & Young indicated that some BDCs owed BOST in excess of $18 million.
BOST was rather owed by the BDCs and not the other way around. If you look at that chart, you see very clearly we inherited a company where the debts were higher than the assets of the company as of 2013, which was effectively a bankrupt business. As of 2016, our assets are far in excess of our debts, which have been reducing steadily since we started the implementation of our program. Because today, BOST pays its debts on time or ahead of schedule. And that credibility is what has helped us grow our open account suppliers credit from a mere $30 million to $1 billion, which is supporting the whole West African region today. Today, we have initiated steps to recover the excess of about $18 million that the BDCs have to refund back to BOST. One of the other things we also did was to embark on an asset revaluation exercise.
He also revealed BOST has received a natural gas transmission utility license from the Energy Commission to build, own and operate all onshore natural gas infrastructure in the country. According to him, BOST has in this light secured financing to construct gas pipelines across the country.
Under the visionary leadership of Dr. Ahinkura and the members of the Energy Commission, not only did we get an NGTU license, but BOST has put in place a structured plan that will address all the challenges of Ghana's gas distribution infrastructure without going to the government for a single penny. And we've designed a natural gas system that we are ready to build out, all the way from Tema and Takoradi through Kumasi up to Buipe, and have secured the $1.2 billion investment required. We hope and pray that the incoming administration will not pour water on this significant achievement, but will carry it on with the enthusiasm and the energy that myself and the team that were around me managed to do.
Government last year initiated plans to merge the operations of Tema Oil Refinery and the bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST and appointed one MD for both entities.
You're still watching Business Live. We want to update you now on some corporate movements. Now, the Unilever, the immediate managing director of Unilever, that is Yos Yebioton, has been appointed boss of Unilever Ghana. And he succeeds Media Kutu, who has been the MD for almost 4 years. Now, she is now the boss of Unilever Francophone Africa.
The managing director of Unilever Ghana Limited, Media Akutu, is no more managing director of the company. This follows her elevation to the position of vice president of Francophone Africa within the Unilever Group. Mady Akutu's new appointment took effect from the beginning of this year. She has served as Managing Director, Executive Director of Unilever Ghana Limited since May 1st, 2013. Before joining Coca-Cola, she worked for over 10 years in Unilever Ghana, South Africa and French West Africa, and has experience both in brand building and brand development.
And this is where we take some news from the international world.
A study has shown that increased access to mobile money has reduced poverty among female-headed households in Kenya. According to the report, rapid expansion of mobile money has lifted an estimated 2% of Kenyan households, totaling 194,000, out of extreme poverty. Zambians for Empowerment and Development, ZED, has praised the government for cutting fuel prices because any reduction in petroleum palm prices has a direct positive impact on Zambians. ZED President Fred Mutesa said the reduction was a commendable move which demonstrated the government's resolve to cushion Zambians against exorbitant fuel prices. The soaring prices of Irish potato seeds has left smallholder farmers crying for help. The prices for seeds are said to have soared by 50% just at a time when farmers are getting little from the produce. Although improved seeds produced by Rwanda Agriculture Board are said to be on the all-time marginal low, it reaches farmers at twice the price, a situation that has been attributed to the shortage of seeds across the country.
And we are taking a short break. We'll be right back with some more news. Welcome back. Time now to do our interview of the day. Now, some players within the private sector continue to pour out the expectations of the incoming administration. The building and construction industry is one important area stakeholders expect much attention to be paid to mitigate the increasing infrastructure deficit. Now, the Public Affairs Chairman of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, Humphrey Amagado, has been speaking to Joy Business.
We are all expecting the new government to properly constitute itself. And if that is done, we expect some good standard for everything. Therefore, the bill, the Survey Council bill or the law, becomes the number one item we expect to be passed in the fastest possible time. That being done, well, a minister that sees our sector should be somebody who is competent and understand the issues of our sector, and will be on top of the job. And that being the case, yes. And then the private sector in general, because most of us are private sector workers, and we expect the government to take.
I mean, speak of your expectations of a minister. Are there any specific names the institute has in mind?
No, we will not go that far. But we expect somebody who understands issues about land, construction, property, real estate, and all the issues. You know, the real estate sector is pushing for removal of VAT on the sales of building and all that. Those are all issues that the government we expect the government to deal with, because it makes prices of buildings, real estate buildings, high, and therefore the sales are not coming as the real estate sector is expecting. So some of those issues we expect government to handle as quickly as possible.
A quick recap of tonight's headlines before we go. President Mahama predicts an era of energy self-sufficiency as TEN and Sankofa oil fields come on stream to produce more gas for energy generation. Also, management of bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST advanced moves to recover debts owed it by BDCs. My name is Daryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. Of course, you can get up to date on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.